That was, yeah.
That was a good size one.
So as far as what the termite inspections entail, we look at the areas around your home. So we're going to look around your foundation. We're looking for heavy foliage. We're looking for areas where there might be termite tubes coming up. We're looking for areas where you might have wood stacked against the house. And of course, we're always looking below that stuff as well. We also look in the house. We look around the plumbing areas. We're going to take a look in your attic. It's pretty much a home inspection, except that we're not looking for damage per se. We're looking for bugs, right? And so the same things we're doing there, with the exception of getting on the roof, we're pretty much doing as far as your termite inspection goes. And so that's pretty much what we do. We don't find them, like you said, Bill, that often. We do find them, and when we do, you can always contract a pest control company to take care of that. So, all right, last question. We're about to purchase our second home. The last experience we had wasn't all that great. When we got our inspection report, there were things our realtor pointed out that we never discussed with our inspector. We were really confused about what was important, what wasn't, and really didn't know what to do. On top of that, a week after we moved in, we had a sewer backup in our house. How is the experience different with you guys?
Can I answer for you guys?
Yeah, please.
This is why you go back to never hire the cheapest inspector. I don't know if that was done,
yeah.
But you want to hire somebody that's going to go in there and do a good job. And then what I like about you guys is you take the time to meet with the buyers after and go over the important things.
Yeah.
It's very important to me as a realtor, and it's very important to my clients.
Yeah, for sure. And, go ahead, Kelly.
I was going to say, just building off what Elena was saying, as far as you get what you pay for, if you look at it, the cost of a quality inspection is really not that much compared to the cost of your home.
Correct.
Yeah.
You know? So that little bit of investment is going to pay off dividends in the long run, I believe.
And sometimes people think, whoa, that's a lot. And then you tell them, well, that's better than compared to thousands and thousands of dollars worth of repair.
Sure.
After you close on the home, you're stuck with your home.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing I would add to that, so we have had clients that have had things happen after they've closed, right? In fact, we had a client not too long ago that had a sewer backup after we closed. And now he had cast iron pipes. We talked to him about it. He understood the risks going in, but he still had a sewer backup. And it wasn't a great experience for him, right? You move into your new house, and now you're disappointed you've had this kind of happen to you. But what we do that's maybe a little different, I actually went out there. I talked to him. I consulted with him. We talked about different options to address it. I talked to him about different plumbing companies in the area and things like that. So we kind of support our folks after the sale to the best of our ability, whereas not a lot of other inspection companies will do that. So
this is also why we recommend to do certain things after the inspection. If we know you have cast iron pipes on an older house, we know just the chances of you having a problem with them unfortunately are pretty high.
Pretty high, yeah. So
they may not be anything wrong with them, but that's why we'll recommend having a plumber come out and scope your pipes or these things, or have your AC inspected and serviced, because we know it's an older unit. It's R22, and R22 is extremely expensive now and almost becoming impossible to get, so you definitely don't want to have a leak. The seller may have serviced it 3 days before the inspection. These are just things you don't know. So, we do our best to see everything, but, things do still happen.
Right.
There you go.
And just, your reports are nice because they're very detailed. You implement video, photography in them, and ask your inspectors questions.
Absolutely.
Definitely ask us questions. Ask us questions to the point that you think, I'm boring these guys to death. And ask us, I always tell people, ask us stupid questions. We don't care. Mm-hmm. Right? Go ahead.
Bill cares a little bit.
Bill cares a little bit. No, but I would. I'd rather have you ask the questions and, get the answers you need than not, right?
Right.
And it always amazes me the people that actually do, because it's never the people you expect. I've had buyers that wanted to be there for the entire inspection, and they come and they show up and they spend the whole inspection sitting in the living room on the couch. And then I've had buyers that, come and show up. In fact, it was this little mousy girl She was probably your height, Elena. It was really short
Don't
and
call
skinny.
them mousy.
Well, she was
nice.
short and skinny. Well, all right. So it was this little girl, and I was
petite.
petite.
There you
we
go.
go.
That's
All
better
right.
than mousy.
There
Yeah.
we go, Bill.
So I was up in the attic, and I was looking at the air conditioning units. There were 2 units back to back, and I turned around, and about 3 inches from my face, this girl was standing there, and I didn't even know she was there because of the noise. And she was looking over my shoulder. She just started asking me a million questions about what I was looking at,
Right.
what I was doing. And so don't be afraid to do that stuff.
Right. But we do tell our clients when they go to inspections to show up at the end because it's
Yeah.
very important for you guys to have full focus during your inspections.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I agree with that. But at the same time, don't be afraid to ask us questions.
These are great too when you're doing a pre-listing and you have the seller following you around because they're usually almost always home when you're doing a pre-listing, and it's great to have them see where the issues are in their house, or even on a warranty inspection. That's a year-old house, and their home usually when you do that one also, it's great because you're showing them stuff on their house that they've been in a year that they didn't even realize what it did. So it's pretty educational for them too, and it'll help them going forward with their new house. So
All right. So, Elena, we're going to go on to a list I found.
Okay.
And
he loves his list.
I know. I'm going to spring this on Elena.
Brian loves lists.
I
No
do.
He
way.
loves lists.
Yeah.
He loves lists. He loves one top 15, or he loves those.
So we'll talk through this. So these are the top 10 things, top 10 mistakes first-time home buyers make.
Okay.
And give you a chance to kind of maybe address some of these. So number 10, skipping the pre-approval process.
Don't do that. Once again, you go back to it's all about the numbers.
Right.
You don't want to go under contract and then find out your mortgage payment's $500 more than what you wanted it to be.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
You want to know up front, what am I getting into?
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the pre-approval process?
It's super simple now. You just go on the lender that your realtor recommends or that you find.
Uh-huh.
You go to the pre-approval process, type in your information, they call you, and then you set an appointment.
Nice.
And guess what? It's free.
Hey, free and easy? That doesn't sound
Yes.
possible. All
That's freezy.
right, number 9, not knowing how much home you can afford.
That goes back to that pre-approval process.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm fine, and I've had it happen. Then
Sure.
we go to make an offer and they get pre-approved and they're not comfortable at all with
Yeah.
the financial side of it.
Sure. How often do you work directly with the lender? Do you get involved in those numbers?
Yes. So I don't get involved in the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So what I tell people is, what do you want your mortgage payment to be? Because they'll come up and say, I want a $300,000 home. But then they say, I want a $1,600 payment. And you're like, okay, so now we're down to $250,
Right.
right?
How much cash do you have?
Right.
Okay.
So the next one, forgetting about additional expenses.
Yes. And so that's part of the consultation we do with our buyers and our sellers. We sit down and say, this is a process of buying a home, and these are upfront expenses you should expect.
Mhm. And what are some of those additional expenses?
It's going to be the option fee, the inspection, sometimes the appraisal, survey, other little things. But
Yeah. The other thing, at least the experience I've had, and love your opinion as a realtor, but people don't think about the insurance and the taxes being rolled into their mortgage payment.
they don't.
Yeah.
It's really easy to go on sites like Zillow or whatever, Trulia, and you see that mortgage payment, but they're not really putting all the real numbers in there for you.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
kind of a phishing thing.
HOA, all those other
Yep,
things too.
HOA.
Well, this is one, Elena, that you probably deal with a lot, and that's people being too picky.
Yes. So that's once again goes back to our consultation. We try to pick out your needs versus your wants.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we try to get you most of your needs, but we try to get you in reality of buying a home.
Sure. And so when people are being too picky, how do you deal with that? How do you address that with somebody?
You ask them questions and you let them think about it and you let them say it.
Okay.
You know, do you really want to lose a home over $500 that has everything you need?
Yeah, sure.
So you're more of a therapist.
Right.
Well, and we've seen that too, right? I mean, we see that from the inspection side. We'll go to an inspection for somebody who really, they're just not sure about the house, and they'll come in and they'll fixate on the smallest little thing.
Cosmetic.
Right.
Yeah, and so we see that too, and that's kind of an interesting thing.
Everybody's different too. I mean, so some people just get locked in on one little thing, and you're trying to go, that's really not a huge issue, or that's something that's easily changed, or but some people just get fixated on something.
Right.
Yeah, so this one kind of goes along with it, and that's being unwilling to compromise.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so then you just kind of ask them, what's your bigger pain? Losing out on a house that's perfect for you, or, eating up a $500 cost, right?
Right. Yeah.
You see
absolutely.
what's most important to them.
And then the next one says first-time homebuyers are often short-sighted.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not playing the long game. They're not looking at,
Right.
what's this neighborhood going to be, right? So they're just seeing what's there now.
Right. And so I feel like we keep going back to the consultations, but that's where we sit down. We ask, what are your real estate goals? Do
Sure.
you want to live here 3 to 5 years? Do you want to sell it in 2 years? Do you want to be an investment property eventually? And you figure out what those are.
I didn't know it was in the flight path of DFW.
Yeah.
So this is one Bill and I get involved with a lot with first-time home buyers, especially during the option period. People are stressed out. They're buying their first house. There's a lot of emotion involved. Yes. So
Nervousness,
they get very
stress.
emotionally involved.
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe talk a little bit about that with a first-time home buyer.
So I always tell people, especially first-time home buyers, because it's nervous going from renting to buying, right? But we always tell them, we have no emotional attachment to this home.
Right.
So we're going to take that aside and we're going to walk you through this. So once again, it goes back to asking the questions. Because at the end of the day, we want you to be comfortable and confident throughout your home buying process.
Yeah.
And so if it takes some time to get you there, we'll get you there.
You have the opposite side of that too. You also have people that don't seem to be worried about anything, and you're like, oh, okay, this is kind of a big deal, or
Yeah.
they're almost so nonchalant about it. You're like, well, this, these are things you need to think about.
Right. Oh, the AC doesn't work. I'll take care of that
it's
down
fine.
the road.
But you also get people that are, the DIY people that are like, oh, I can fix all that stuff, and that's fine if they want to. But they,
Right.
sometimes I have to hope they don't overwhelm themselves with all the things they're going to fix.
Right. Yeah.
Depends on the house too, but.
So this one is kind of near and dear to me. I get kind of passionate about this. And this is a mistake, I think, especially as a first-time home buyer, you don't want to make. But the last time I looked at the numbers, there were about 12% of homes sold in this area that don't get a professional inspection. So
That's near and dear to my heart too.
yeah, it does. It's really a bad idea. Not getting a professional inspection is a really bad idea, especially if you've never owned a home before, especially if you're buying a used home, but a new one too. It's just, I could talk all day about the risk that you're taking on.
Right.
It's not enough.
A lot of people see, I'm buying a home for myself. I'm buying this, but it's an investment. At the end of the day, it's an investment.
It is. Yeah.
And it's an investment that can make you money.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and
if you do it the right way.
Absolutely.
On top of that, you need to make sure that it's safe. It's safe for you and your family. You don't want to move. Some of the things we see would blow your mind. We've seen foundations that are not supported by anything. We've seen roof structures that are coming apart. It's amazing what you would see. And just because a house has been standing for 20 years doesn't mean it's going to stand for another 20.
Especially as you get further away from cities and further out into the country.
So you lose money down the road potentially, and the higher the risk of your safety in your own home.
So, Elena, I'm gonna try to turn this next one over to you. So this is a mistake they say first-time homebuyers make, and this is working with the seller's agent instead of getting their own.
Right. So when you work with a buyer's agent, you're working with somebody that's working for you. When you go to the listing agent and work with the listing agent, they're working for both parties. It's impossible to have your highest interest in both parties at the same time.
Yeah.
So they become just a transactional realtor, right?
Right. So how does that work when somebody has both sides of a transaction? Isn't that a conflict of interest? How does that work?
So pretty much then we become what's called an intermediary, and we pretty much pass the documents along. We give you the terms, but you guys come into agreements on your own. I personally don't like doing that. And I go to like a sports analogy. We can be a ref in a game. We just call the game. Or we can be a coach trying to coach you for the winning side.
Got it. So when you become an intermediary, then you're no longer involved in the negotiations.
Right. Because you just can't. There's no way the seller can say, I'll take $15,000 less.
Sure.
And you know that the other side's trying to negotiate. So it's how do you balance that?
Sure.
It's insider trading.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So the number 2 mistake they say first-time homebuyers make is not planning for closing costs.
Right.
And so what are some of those closing costs they need to be thinking about?
Right. So your down payment, which just so everybody out there knows, you don't need 20% down.
Right.
Everybody thinks that.
What do you need?
Well, it depends on what your debt to income is, your credit score,
Okay.
all that stuff. That's
Sure.
why you meet with a lender.
Right.
But you can get as little as 3% conventional.
Oh, wow.
There are buyer programs out there where you can get your down payment paid for, and we can go in and negotiate your closing costs.